There appears to be a connection between Brian and their criminal enterprise, and Oscar's fighting technique closely resembles Brian's distinctive style. Without delay, Perro reaches out to their hitmen in Mexico, tasking them with the mission of finding and eliminating Brian in the next scene. Oscar, still seeking opportunities for underground fights, makes his way to a local fight club and approaches the receptionist Marisol he inquires about, obtaining a membership, eager to continue testing his newfound skills. However, to his disappointment, Marisol informs him that club memberships are only available to individuals aged 18 and older.
Dejected but not without charm, Oscar flirts with Marisol and compliments her looks before leaving the club following this. Oscar, accompanied by his brother Hector and his group, pays a visit to Brian's residence. They implore Brian to resume Oscar's training and even go so far as to offer a substantial sum of money in exchange for his services. Brian, however, remains resolute in his decision to decline their offer. Tensions rise when Hector attempts to coerce Brian by brandishing a firearm, but Brian swiftly counters by drawing his own weapon and ordering them to leave his property, not before suggesting Oscar stay away from his brother. Following this, the two brothers, Oscar and Hector, return to the fight club that had earlier denied Oscar membership due to his age. Hector proceeds to sign the necessary guardian papers, securing Oscar's admission as a club member. During this time, Marisol recognizes Oscar as the fighter who defeated the Collector in the underground match, and even shares the video footage of the fight with him. As they converse, two unfamiliar individuals, the Gonzalez brothers, enter the club and begin questioning Oscar about his trainer Brian. Before Oscar can respond, Hector intervenes and inquires about the identity of the newcomers. The Gonzalez brothers initially claim to be the owners of their own fight club, but when Hector expresses doubt, they disclose their true intent. They are hunting Brian. Hector, not revealing any knowledge of Brian's whereabouts, suggests that the Gonzalez brothers exit the club after the
Gonzalez brothers depart. Hector confides in Oscar, explaining the true nature of the twin brothers as hitmen with the intent to harm Brian. Hearing this, Oscar insists on informing Brian about the danger he faces and asks Marisol to accompany them shortly there. After the group arrives outside Brian's residence and Marisol relays Oscar's request for a conversation, Brian agrees and Oscar proceeds to inform him about the Gonzalez brothers and their pursuit of his life. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, Brian urges everyone to enter his house promptly, as he suspects that the Gonzalez brothers might have been tailing them and could pose an imminent threat. Brian's words turn out to be true, and the Gonzalez brothers open fire at them, killing two of Hector's friends. Fortunately, Hector, Brian, Oscar, and Marisol manage to seek refuge inside Brian's bulletproof home, just in the nick of time after losing his group members. Hector directs his anger and grief at Brian, holding him responsible for the death of his friends. He then demands an explanation for why the hitmen were after him here. Brian reluctantly reveals his past as a police officer, who had successfully apprehended the notorious drug lord Sonny Kilbane several years ago. After Sonny's arrest, Brian had been living anonymously in the area, hoping to remain beyond the reach of cartel members seeking revenge. However, he remains perplexed as to how the Gonzalez brothers discovered his location. Right then, Marisol suggests that it might be due to the underground fight Oscar participated in, which was subsequently uploaded to the internet. Brian, furious at Oscar's disobedience, exits the house, but not before instructing Hector to pass by the window in a few minutes. Next, Brian is outside the house, hiding behind some bushes, aiming his crossbow at one of the Gonzalez brothers. Following Brian's instructions, Hector walks past the window, diverting the attention of the brothers. Seizing this opportunity, Brian releases the crossbow bolt, killing one of the Gonzalez brothers unbeknownst to the death of his brother. The other one, driven by a vengeful determination, approaches Brian's residence and begins pouring gasoline over it in intending to set it ablaze. However, before he can carry out his plan, Brian confronts him, leading to a fierce confrontation between the two. After a heated scuffle, Brian gains the upper hand and presses the remaining Gonzalez brothers for information about their employer. Regrettably, the stubborn hitman refuses to reveal any details, and in a final desperate act ignites himself, succumbing to the flames and taking his secrets with him. Next, Brian enters the house and advises Oscar and the others to evacuate as swiftly as possible. He suspects that the Gonzalez brothers may have called for reinforcements and an imminent threat could be on the horizon. Brian then guides the group through a concealed tunnel, urging them to look after themselves before departing later. At night, as Brian predicted, a group of henchmen assaults his base. Nevertheless, he manages to fight against them and drive them away. The following day, Hector arrives outside Brian's residence to check on him, but is met with a surprising sight. The scene appears entirely cleared, as if no gunfight events had transpired the previous night. Hector assumes that Brian may have left Mexico in the wake of the chaos and conveys this information to Oscar. Hearing this news, Oscar is deeply saddened as he holds great respect and admiration for Brian as his teacher. After this, when Hector visits one of his friend's fiancée, he is surrounded by the same group of henchmen who attacked Brian's house the previous night. They take him hostage and urge him to reveal the location of Brian to their bad luck. Hector refuses to provide them with any information, compelling the group leader to point a gun at him. Fortunately, before he can pull the trigger, Brian arrives there holding a machine gun and kills each one of the thugs in a go. He then rescues Hector, and the two drive towards the town in a luxury car. On the other hand, Oscar and Marisol arrive outside Brian's house, hoping that he's still inside. Right then, a group of soldiers attack them, and Oscar fights them with ease amid the chaos. One of the soldiers, a man named Eric, approaches Oscar and begins speaking to him. Eric assures Oscar that their intention is not to harm Brian, but rather to save him. He drops a bombshell by revealing that he is one of Brian's former students, and somewhat surprisingly, Oscar believes him. Following this revelation, Marisol and Oscar get into Eric's car, and together with him, they embark on a journey to search for Brian. However, after driving a distance, Oscar realizes that Eric is taking them to a different place. Rather than to the city, he then signals Marisol to open the GPS tracking and calls Hector, informing him that they're with a cop, Eric, as soon as Brian hears the name. He suggests Oscar be on high alert and not trust Eric, as he is a dirty. Do you want to see part 2 of this video? Subscribe to the channel and comment part 2. Thanks for watching. I would see you at part 2.